Hi everyone, Akriti here. Thank you for joining me today in this very interesting video of SQL where we learn the concept of case. So, case is used to first of all add a new column, and the values of that column would be assigned based on certain conditions. So, we'd be looking into detail about it in the next part of this video. But if you're new here, hi, I'm Akriti. I work in the data AI domain and I create content on Twitter, Medium, and now on YouTube. So thank you for joining me on this journey. Regarding this playlist, this is 15 days of SQL where each day for 30 to 40 minutes, all of us come together in a live session at the same time and learn, practice, revise certain concepts of SQL so as to lay a proper foundation of certain SQL concepts which help you get into data if you are a newbie or if you're looking to upskill yourself in data by gathering database skills. So you can start with SQL, it's a great starting point. Or if you're looking to switch careers, change your domain completely into data. So SQL is very helpful, too much in demand. It's been here for quite some time and it is expected to be here. So it's never too late to hop on this bandwagon. And I'm so proud of you for being here. Welcome, and let's get started with our session for today. Before this, let me know if the screen and my voice is proper or not. And I will send you the link to the tutorial which I'll be using. We'll be practicing a lot of questions. Hi, Sylvia. Nice to have you here. Okay, so I've sent the link of the tutorial. Again, I repeat this in every video and I will continue saying that. I think I'll take this to my grave. But don't make this a theory concept, theory lecture where you just look at the video for 30 minutes and gain theoretical knowledge, because that won't lead you anywhere. Click on the links, go check out the tutorial, play around the environment of SQL, write something with your own fingers and not copy paste it from somewhere, or just learn it theoretically, hypothetically. Write something, be it a simple select star query with a simple filtering, but write something. Till you don't get hands-on with things like these, especially in tech, you won't be gaining anything out of this session. And if you want to do that, if you're planning to do that, I urge you to quit this session right now and save your time, at least. So, but if you're going to continue being here, I would recommend click on the tutorial, check it out, click on the playgrounds and practice the problems together with me. I'll be guiding you through, I'll be with you through each of the steps, each of the concepts. I'll be explaining you over and over again. However, I wouldn't want you to just listen. I would want you to listen, of course, but not just listen. Meanwhile, if you have any queries, something you want to ask, please put it on the chat box. I constantly check it and I'll be responding you as much as I can to the best of my knowledge. Okay, so let's get started. The link of the tutorial is in the chat box for everyone who joined just now. So what is case? Now, when you say case, I think the first thing that comes to my mind, maybe not for other people, but case, I consider it for a particular situation. So like in case. So that case is what comes to my mind, or maybe it can be a murder mystery case in that sort. But when I hear case, I don't generally go to that container case, but then again, you can have your own contexts. The context with SQL uses here is condition. So like this particular scenario. Case here represents a scenario. So what SQL says in the English terms is, if this is the case, then this would be the value. That's what the case statement altogether tries to convey. Again, I'll repeat. It'll try to say that if this is the case, and that case would be conveyed through a condition. We have practiced how to construct conditions, filter data based on those conditions in the previous videos. If you have not checked it out, I'll link the whole playlist. You can go back, learn about logical operators, comparison operators, and see how those can be incorporated to gain and construct certain conditions which are used to filter data, or in this case, create new data based on certain conditions. The case statement, it will take a condition from the user, and if that condition evaluates to true, it will, in that case, give a certain value. Take the example of this. See, this entire line, what it is saying is case, when. So this is the clear syntax. Don't put too much head on it. Every case statement would start with case and end with end. So case, end, this is going to be there every time. Next, there'll be a couple of conditions which we'd be using. Every time those conditions hit true, certain value would be assigned to our new column. And in case they evaluate to false, then the case statement would go ahead and look at the second condition and so on till it reaches the end. So how are those conditions written? So it will say case, then for each condition this would be the case. This would be repeated, each of the conditions. So it will say, so it will say when, and then it will give you the condition. So you would have to write the condition. When, condition, then value. So what it means is, when this condition is true, then the new column will get this value. So this will be repeated for as many conditions as you have. So you can say when your senior, here it is year equal to SR. So wherever the value of the column year would be SR, would be equal to SR, then this new column which we are creating through this case statement would have the value of yes. Okay. So basic English here, when this condition is true, then value is this. Similarly, if I wanted to add another condition to it, that when year equal to junior, so then no. So I can add that, I will take a new line and write this condition, everything, when, then. I'll say when, condition, then value. Keep this in mind. This is the syntax you'll be following. When, condition, then value. We'll see examples and know how to implement it. But I just want you to know how things flow. There's a case statement, and for each of the conditions which you want the data to be checked against, there'll be a when statement. So when, condition, if that condition evaluates to true, then what value? So you'll be specifying the value simultaneously for all of the conditions. And then this is optional, but in case you want to say that, okay, if none of the conditions specified evaluate to true and none of these values have been given, so in the end, what should be the default value? That is, if none of the conditions evaluated to true, so there hasn't been any value assigned to that column yet, right? To that column for that particular row. So what we'll do, okay, if nothing got assigned, then else, we'll write else. For my programmer buddies here, this would be familiar. They have the if-else statement in every programming language. But if you're new here, new to tech, I'll let you know. Else is used to specify that what happens when none of the conditions evaluate to true. So else, and then you give the value, because now you don't have any condition. You're simply trying to say what will happen if none of the conditions are true. None of the conditions are true here, you'll say else, then you'll give the value and you'll end the case statement. After ending, this entire thing would result into an array or a list of values which have been generated against each row. Those would be given a name using the alias as, and then you'd give the column name. Okay, this looks little complex at first, but once you get a hang of it, you'll be there in no time, don't worry. So again, more people have tried to explain to you in simple English what is case. We went over that in the first part, in the initial 5 minutes of this tutorial, that why is case used? So case is used to give us certain scenarios which are expressed through conditions, and each time one of those conditions hit, a value is assigned and this statement ends. If none of the conditions hit, the else value part, the value which is written in place, the value which is written ahead of else would be assigned, and then after everything ends, we will give the column a name. Okay, might be a little hazy right now, but don't worry. Again, what they're doing here for this particular query is they're taking a case statement, case, and this remains same. I would teach you how to indent it proper for better readability. That will increase your chances of spotting errors quickly and not wasting your time on such syntax errors. So what they're trying here is that they only have one condition, and they're saying when year is equal to senior, that is here the column year has the value senior SR, then yes. So then the value of our new column would be yes. Otherwise, if this condition is not true, there are no more conditions available here for this particular query. So we'll go to the else statement, and the condition did not hit, none of the conditions specify hit, so it will take no, which is the default value. None of the conditions hit, we'll get the value which we had for else. So else no, and the case statement will end, and it will be given a name is a senior. Okay, now we'll be practicing a problem. Write a query that includes a column that is flagged yes when a player is from California, and sort the results with those players first. Okay, let's try it out. I will send the link. I mean, this is the practice problem. If you look at the tutorial and scroll down, you'll be able to access that. So open the playground and practice it with me. Okay, we have it loaded here. So first of all, we want to know when a player is from California, which data set are we using? We are using Ben college football players. So first we will look at what the data is, just to get an introductory overview of what we are dealing with here. If you've not written an SQL query before, select is used to choose columns to include in the query results. When we just put an asterisk, it by default gives us all of the columns present in the data set. Then we need to specify using the from clause that where we want the data to be located. Okay. So this is the database Ben, and this will be the table name, that is college football players. So data set dot table name. Okay, we have our results here, and what we want is, I feel this. Do we have any California here? Control of California. So see, things like these we are not able to get where the California part is. We say that is flagged as when a player is from California. Okay, so player name and height, weight, hometown. So now that I don't know that where it will be, I'll check where state. So this is not a part of the query which we are trying to solve. This is just me getting a hang of how the data is. So I hope this is what the state code should be if the player is from California. Let's see if what we are assuming is actually present in the data or not. It is, you see, everyone with their hometowns in California. The state is listed as California. I don't have a lot of US geographical knowledge, so if there are any US citizens here and I'm going wrong, Please correct me. Hi Harry, nice to have you back. I have a lot of recurring viewers and I love you guys for that. Thank you for bearing me for half an hour every day. So, yeah, so we know what we are dealing with right now and what we want. This was me just getting an overview of what we would need. Now we'll begin with what we want. That is, we want to flag a column that is flagged yes when a player is from California. So what flag means is you just give a by unit status, like it'll be either yes or no, Boolean format. So that's how flags are: 0, 1, 1, -1, yes, no, true, false. True, false is Boolean. But generally the values would be 2, either of the two. So here we need to have case, because again we are discussing case today. That's the whole point of having this video. And then we will say what do we really want. So we will list our condition. And the condition would be preceded by when, because as we discussed earlier, that we'll always have our conditions written as a when condition then value format. Okay, keep this in mind: when condition then value. So when, what is the condition? That the state should be California, so that is state CA. This is my condition. This will handpick all of those players who have, for their entry, the value of the column state as California, which is CA. Okay, if this state column together was not there, I would have used the hometown column. It also has the CA, but then I would have to use string functions, and we've not covered string functions yet. So we'd be using the right string function, RIGHT, but you don't need to worry about that. We'll cover it in the upcoming sessions. But fortunately here we have the state splitted out, so we can directly use it very conveniently. So when, and now here we have our condition. After that we have then. And as the question has specified that they'll be flagged yes when a player is from California. So you have the condition that the player should be from California. Okay, and then the thing is it should be flagged yes. So yes is the column value which we need to have. Yes. Why am I using quotes here? Because I am giving an outside value. Okay, this is not something which is part of the SQL system. It is not a column name, it is not a database name, it is not a data set name, and it is not a built-in SQL function or keyword. So yes is something I'm giving from outside. CA is something I'm giving from outside. Those have to be included within single quotes. Double quotes in SQL are reserved for column names if the column names are similar to the keywords. However, in other languages, for strings, single quotes and double quotes are interchangeable. In SQL specifically, I repeat this a lot, but we only use single quotes when specifying a string value. So keep this in mind, that whenever you're going to give an outside value to it, which is not a part of the SQL ecosystem, you need to have single quotes and pass the value as a string. So I gave state equal to CA, which was my condition. Then I gave the value. Now I only had one condition here, since they said they either want the player to be from California or not, so yes or no. So I will give a default value, that is, if none of the conditions, which is just one here, if this condition does not strike, then what should be the value of the column? That value should be no, because yes, no flags. Once this is done, I have listed out all of my conditions and the default value. I will end my case statement. Once it has ended, I need to give it what column to put it under. So I'll give it an alias and I'll give the number as state flag. State flag. Let's see if it, and then if it runs or not. So we have a lot of no, 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 no. Not a yes in sight, because again, the players from CA are in minority. So there was another part of this that sort the results with those players first. Okay. So now we'll be getting our transferable skills from the previous video of order by. I think it was the 4th video in the series. So if you've not checked it out, again, I'd recommend checking out the series. So what order by does is it takes into consideration a column and its values, and it sorts it on some basis. So if it is numerical, it will sort it in like small to high, small to large form. If it is a date column, then it will sort it chronologically. And if it's an alphabetical or string column, it will sort it in the alphabetical order. That is, the words which are closer to A, which start with A, would be put first, and the words which are closer to Z would be put last. So here, now that we know that we need to order the players and we need to get the players which are flagged yes as before them. So we know that we are going to have some order, some sort of ordering. How will we perform that order? Let's see. So order by, what we need to order by? So we need to order by the state flag. State flag is done. Now what? So now state flag has two values, right? No and yes. I have been told that I want the values of yes first, which have the value yes. I want them before. And yes is closer to Z. So if I order it simply, it will put it in ascending fashion, and no will come before yes, because obviously in the alphabetical order, n comes before y. But that is not what I want here. So I'd be arranging it or ordering it in a descending fashion. For that, I'd have to add another keyword here, which is DESC. By default, the ordering happens in an ascending fashion. If I want to make it descending, I need to specify it explicitly using this keyword DESC. Let's see if it works. See, now you have the values which are yes first. Correct? Let's compare it with the solution and see if we were right or not. Thank you for your kind words, Vaibhav. So they have everything, whatever is needed. They added a lot more columns to the result. That is not really a make or break thing. We were concerned about the case statement and what the query really wants. So they wanted whether CA or not, else null. I have given no problem. And then they're ordering it by 3. Since they have not given no, they just need to order it, and yes will come first because the blanks, the non-nulls, would be treated later. It's just one way of performing the solution. Mine isn't wrong, but mine isn't the same as them either. So your choice. I preferred the yes or no. What they did was, if the state is not yes, the by default value was null, which is blank. For that, if you need to order it, then you just say ascending, and since only those rows would have any value, so those rows would be picked first while ordering. Clear till now? Shall we take it up a little notch, or take it up a little notch? I don't know what the phrase is. I think that's what it is. But I hope it is clear till now, and now we will further make it more useful and closer to the real world application of the case statement, which is using multiple conditions. So there'll barely be any scenarios where you'd have to go either this or that. No. There are multiple conditions based on which you need to filter data, transform data, manipulate data. And that is where case statement especially is very useful. and it is one of my favorites because it is simple and gets the job done without any. Okay, so now what here they are doing is they are trying to segregate the weights into certain categories based on what is their numerical values. So when weight, see again this is case and end is same here, as weight group is same here, as and then the new column name. What is new here is that there are multiple when then statements. So earlier the whole concept of it still remains same, that you would have when, condition, then value format, and but then instead of having one there'll be multiple, because we want to segregate our column or add value to our new column based on multiple conditions now in our current scenario. What are those conditions? That is, if the weight is greater than 250, then we would assign the value over 250 to our new column. It can be anything, 250, 300, 600, 700, whatever it is, they'll say over 250 for that weight group. And once this condition strikes, the case statement will end for that particular row, and then it will go ahead and execute for the next row. So next row, for example, suppose it does not strike this, the value was 220. So it was not greater than 250, the value of weight was 220, it was not greater than 250, this condition did not strike. Now 220 is greater than 200, so this condition stuck. Now that this condition is true, the second condition, it will get the second value, which is 201 to 250. Because obviously if something is not greater than 250 but it is greater than 200, then it comes in the range of 201 to 250, right? So for all of those values which tick this condition, we will get this age group. Simultaneously, for the next condition, for all of the values which satisfy this condition, we will get 176 to 200 as the value for the new column weight group. Now, if none of these three conditions were true for some queries, some entries did not strike any of these conditions. For the weight value, they were neither greater than 250, neither greater than 200, neither greater than 175. So neither of these conditions evaluated to true. In that case, the last default value which it would get is 175 or under. That is our default value given here. After the default value is given, now this is just a way of ensuring that each row gets a value based on a condition. So if none of the conditions strike, there is a default value ready. After this is done, we will end our case statement and give a name to this, which is using an alias AS and the name of our new column, weight group in this case. Okay. I hope this was clear. And see here, now here they are not just using one, they are using one condition, but they are concatenating two conditions together for a single when then clause. If you don't know what these is, this is a logical operator and they are used to concatenate one or more conditions together. So and, like English and A and B. So I would say, when I say A and B, I mean that I want both of those, A and B. So what and means is that the overall condition would evaluate to true only and only if both of the conditions are true. Okay, so every time you have and, you would want to have both the conditions true, then only the overall result would be true. If either of those are not true, then the end result would be false. Whereas there is another type of operator called or. So again, the English meaning of or would be one of these, right? So if I say I want A or B, so you'll be fine, like, okay, I can get her either A or B or both of them, it does not matter. Then we are concatenating using the operator or. The entire resultant of those conditions would evaluate to true even when at least one of them evaluates to true. The overall condition would evaluate to true. This is for later. I just gave you an overview of what it would be like, but I'm just saying you can concatenate multiple conditions into one and use it in the when clause. I hope this was not too much to digest in one session. I'm sorry if it was. So now we have a practice problem. Write a query that includes player's name and a column that classifies them into 4 categories based on height. Keep in mind that the answer we provide is only one of the many possible answers, since you could divide player's height in many ways, of course. Okay, so now what they want is, I will say I want a height group. Okay, first I want to know what types of heights do they even have. So let's select the column height first and see what kinds of values they have, so it's easier for us to segregate them into 4 separate groups. It's similar to the problem which we had regarding weight. Okay, I feel it's in inches. In order to get what it is like, you can also use some knowledge from our previous session, which was on aggregate functions and group bys. If you've not checked the video, you can check it. It's in this playlist 15 days of SQL in my channel. So we'll use the aggregate function min and max, supply it with the column height, and then it will give us the minimum value inside that column and the maximum value inside that column. So the minimum value is 0, maybe it is 0 for something, and it is 83. So now that it is 83, I feel taking groups of 4 would be better. Let's see. So like 0 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, and then 60 and beyond. 60 to 83. So I will say I want height, and then I want a new column which is height group, which I'd be creating using the case statement. Now case, we know case has a case keyword and an end keyword. Everything in between is what we will supply now. Each of these conditions, no matter how many they are in number, will have their format same, that is when condition then value. Okay, what is the first condition? We'll say height greater than 60. Okay, and then the value would be a string. I'll say 60 plus. Good enough. So this is my first condition, that is if the height is greater than 60, you would put it in the category or give it the value, the new height group, a value 60 plus. Next, if it is not more than 60, let's check it for another condition, that is if height is greater than 40 or not. So then it will come under the category 40 to 60, right? Then we'll say then. Now if it is not even over 40, then we'll have another condition which is height greater than 20. And if this strikes, we'll know that the value is somewhere between 20 to 40. So we'll say 20 to 40. Okay, it will be 41 here because, yeah. And then if none of these conditions strike, that the height is not even over 20, we will have a common default value which is 20 or less. Okay, so we have 4 groups now, 4 types of values which we are giving our new column, that is 60 plus, 41 to 60, 21 to 40, and 20 or less. Okay, this is done. We have given all of our conditions, multiple conditions for this case, and we'll end it. Then we'll give it a value using a name using the alias, which is height group. Okay. Let's run the query and see what it yields. See, they're able to see when the height is over 60, it is giving 60 plus, 60 plus, 60 plus. For most of the players, I feel it is 60 plus, because most of the players' heights lie within the range of 60 to 83. For some, it would have multiple values. And that's how we incorporated the case statement into certain scenarios, which are very frequent, very useful in SQL. I hope this session was helpful to you and you were able to grasp the concept of case. Tomorrow we'll be discussing one of the most scared and sacred and scared about concepts of SQL, which is joins. It is very important when dealing with multiple databases, a relational database management system, which is the whole purpose of using SQL. Otherwise, you'd be good to go with Excel. So why are you using SQL? Because your database is relational. It has multiple columns, multiple tables in which those columns are stored. And what those tables have in common is some relation between them. Using those relations, we'll learn how to join two or more tables together and perform whatever we have learned till now, that is just filtering data, ordering data, grouping data, adding some aggregate function, or creating a whole new column based on certain conditions using the case statement we learned today. So it can be either of those things, but what you were fetching here from one, this is what we'd be focusing on yesterday, the from clause. So till now the from was a default thing, it was barely getting changed. We were changing what happens in select, what happens in where, order by, group by, but we were never really changing the from, because we knew we only needed from a single table. But now it's going to change. You would access data from multiple tables, and those tables would be joined based on different relations between them. So now, tomorrow we'll be focusing on the from clause and how to fetch data from multiple sources. I hope I'll see you tomorrow, and this was valuable. Thank you for investing your time into this. If you have any questions, you can write it in the chat or hit me up on Twitter. Comment down here. I am active on these social media platforms. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day ahead. Bye.